Welcome back. Well, now that Kosovo and Serbia have failed to agree on Kosovo's future status, there are several scenarios for what's ahead in the province. Well, there could be more talks on Kosovo's future. That's at least what Russia and Serbia are pushing for. But Kosovo could go ahead and declare independence. Kosovan Albanian politicians have said they'll do that only after consulting with the United States and Europe. Well, if the province declares independence, polls indicate minority Serbs could flee Kosovo. Well, Belgrade has been increasing its attention to public services in Serbian areas, and it's possible it could try to petition Kosovo into ethnic Serb and Albanian areas. Well, another possibility is that the fighting in the Balkans could resume. Well, that's something the thousands of NATO peacekeepers are supposed to deter at least. Well, we're still joined by our guest in Pristina, Lalzim Petsi, Executive Director and one of the founders of the Kosovo Institute for Policy Research and Development. In Belgrade, Vladimir Radomirovic, Deputy Editor of Foreign Affairs at the Serbian daily Politika. And in Brussels, Lucia Montinaro-Jankowski, a Balkans expert. Thank you for joining us once again. If I could start with Ms. Janowski once again. The failure of big powers to resolve the issue of Kosovo, is that really leaving things for the actors on the ground to sort out?
Well, I mean, obviously the big powers tried to facilitate the negotiations, but at the end of the day it's the failure of the parties to arrive to an agreement.
Does that mean, though, that perhaps armed elements on both sides of the ethnic divide in Kosovo will be the ones to draw the lines?
I think that there has been clear indications as far as the north that the Serbian stance will remain the same. Today they opened up a ministry in North Mitrovica of Kosovo and Metohija, which was rather provocative. However, I think that will simply become a more de facto separation rather than trying to go full front in any confrontation against NATO or others.
All right, let's bring in Mr. Radomirovic into this discussion now. Do you think you share that concern there, or perhaps that analysis that conflict isn't likely? How are minority Serbs likely to react to a declaration of independence by Albanian Kosovars?
Well, we've already heard from politicians in the north of Kosovo, from Serb politicians, that they were ready to declare independence from the so-called independent Kosovo. And I'm afraid that in that case, Albanians might react against Serbs who live just south of the Ibar River and expel them from Kosovo, which in turn would inflame Albanians in Serbia proper, just bordering Kosovo, to declare their independence from Serbia, and this could go into a full cycle of violence, not necessarily war, because Serbia definitely does not intend to go into Kosovo and face confrontation with NATO, of course, but we could see medium-scale violence that could leave dozens of people dead.
All right, Mr. Petsi, do you share that analysis? Perhaps medium-scale violence is a possibility.
No, what the previous speaker said, this is what Serbia wants, but I'm not expecting that to happen, because in Kosovo there are more than 20,000 KFOR soldiers, and Kosovo government is fully engaged to keep peace and stability here, as it promised during the Vienna talks right now with Troika. And Albanians will not react by force, even if the North declares something like independence. But
so
the scenario of the North
how would the Albanian Kosovars react then with that precisely that scenario where Serbs declare independence? It's with political measures, first of all, because we share responsibility together with the international community in Kosovo, and we will work together with them
to ease the tensions and to work in the long term to diffuse the current political disputes that we have within Kosovo. However, if the North declares the independence, it sounds like more or less what happened in Croatia when Croatia declared independence, and in the end of the day Eastern Slavonia became an integral part of Croatia, and this is the very same thing what will happen with the northern part of Kosovo. But we have to wait until Serbia changes its mind, and I'm expecting that when Serbia turns to Brussels and forgets Russia, this will be a kind of outcome.
All right, let's bring Ms. Janowski into the discussion once again. Let's broaden the discussion out and talk about the Balkans region as a whole. What would a declaration or move towards independence for Kosovo mean for countries like Bosnia?
Indeed, in Brussels, the main preoccupation of a spillover brings people's eyes towards Bosnia. I think the internal dynamics in Bosnia are heating up. Whether a declaration of unilateral independence is undertaken in Kosovo or not. And the Serbian population in Bosnia in Republika Srpska is much larger than that of the Serbian population in Kosovo, and economically is in a better stance. Therefore, I would say the risks are there, but they're not totally linked to Kosovo.
All right, they're not totally linked, but Mr. Radomirovic, cards perhaps that Serbia could definitely play, some would say is already indicating and putting on the table the fact that you have, of course, the situation in Bosnia, the tensions between Macedonia and ethnic Albanians there. How would Serbia deal with that sort of scenario?
Well, I must say, if a precedent is set in Kosovo, then not just Serbs in Bosnia, but separatists all over the world will want to get their own states. And if I may, Serbia was just accused by Mr. Petsi that it wants to leave dozens of people dead in Kosovo. This is not the case. Serbia wants stability in the region, and what's creating instability is a drive by Kosovo Albanians to declare independence and their threats to use violence if they don't get it. They've used threats of violence for the last 4 or 5 years, and nobody has addressed this problem seriously. The only solution that the West could think of was give them independence. And I'm afraid that this would create more instability in Serbia too, where we could see the government fall, and we could see Serbia blocked on its way to the European Union.
But some would argue, isn't it actually in Serbia's interest to actually paint this picture of possible violence, of breakdown in the region, as a way of perhaps blocking any moves towards independence on behalf of the Kosovars?
Well, we have that advantage of living here. I've been living here for all my life, and I know that such incidents can cause a lot of violence. And Mr. Petsi also mentioned the status of Serbs in Croatia, which is exactly why the wars in the Balkans started in 1991, because the issues of Serbs in Croatia were not addressed properly by the international community. You remember Serbs in Bosnia were fearful that it could happen, that another genocide against them could happen, like it happened in the Second World War. And of course, this was abused. This fear was abused by Belgrade, but their fears were not met by the West too.
All right, let's go over once again to Mr. Petsi and ask the question that how would the Albanians deal? There is clearly an international concern about moves towards independence igniting the whole region. Is that going to represent perhaps something of a break in slowing down moves by Albanian Kosovars towards independence?
Well, I think that first of all, Serbia is signatory of Dayton Agreement, and they have the obligation for the territorial integrity of Bosnia and Herzegovina. And as far as Kosovo is concerned, as I mentioned and previously, we are committed to peace and stability and to multi-ethnicity of Kosovo. We know what kind of difficulties we will face in the future, but we are strongly committed to the European future. And that's why I'm expecting that Kosovo, together with European Union and NATO, will succeed in the story of stabilizing the region.
All right, I want to go back to Mr. Radomirovic once again. Let's talk about the internal politics going on in Serbia. What would a move towards independence by Kosovo do to nationalists and the upcoming elections, perhaps, on January the 20th, and the balance of power within Serbia?
Well, the election date has not yet been set. There are rumors that the first round of the presidential elections will be held on the 20th of January. And if so, there will possibly be a win by the Democratic Party leader Boris Tadic, who is the liberal politician here opposed to any violence. But if there's an outbreak of violence in Kosovo, we could see a win by strong nationalists, and we could see government toppled, and a reaction by Serbs would be, very difficult to predict, and we could face mass protests in Belgrade against the government too, and against the countries that would recognize the independence of Kosovo.
Okay, interesting point. Ms. Janovsky, is that enough reason perhaps for world powers, for the European Union, to think about just putting the whole situation in the freezer until those elections are passed?
I think there is the will to wait till the elections are passed, as there was in previous situations with the elections in Serbia. So, I mean, I think the most probable situation is that the Albanians will wait for their declaration of unilateral independence till after Serbian elections.
All right,
So
we'll have to leave the discussion there. Unfortunately, we are running out of time. I have to thank Lazlim Petsi from the Kosovo Institute for Policy Research and Development, Vladimir Radomirovic from the Serbian Daily Politica, and Lucia Montinaro Janovsky from, of course, who is a Balkans expert. Thank you all for joining us, and thank you, the viewer, for joining us here on this edition of Inside Story. As always, we welcome your comments and suggestions. Email them to us at insidestory@aljazeera.net. For now, it's goodbye.